beauty is always first through the door. Not virtue, not wisdom, not even health, if we're being brutally honest. The face gets funded before the liver. The mirror beats the medical chart. That is not romance, mate. That's market logic. If you want to know why cosmetic gene therapy keeps tugging at the imagination, start with desire you can see. Hair color, skin tone, pigmentation patterns, clarity, scar reduction, maybe even the way follicles behave over time. Those are public traits. They shape how strangers read you in 3 seconds flat. Therapeutic enhancement, the broad, vague kind people yak about in sci-fi, often hides inside the body. Clear skin walks into the room before your blood markers do. Now, let's keep our shoes on the ground. As of March 2026, this is not a salon menu with CRISPR beside the facials. The serious science is in somatic editing, changes made to cells in the body, not to embryos, not to future generations. That's a crucial distinction. Somatic approaches are where actual medicine is moving. Gene addition, RNA-based modulation, editing tools delivered locally, sometimes ex vivo, sometimes directly into tissue. Dermatology is especially interesting because the target is right there, out in the open, no treasure map required. Skin is accessible. You can biopsy it, photograph it, monitor it, sample it again. Hair follicles too, at least compared with, say, persuading a pancreas to behave. Researchers have already pushed topical and local genetic medicines for skin disorders further than a lot of people realize. There have been topical approaches for rare skin disease, and broader dermatology research is full of delivery experiments, lipid nanoparticles, polymer carriers, microneedles, engineered vesicles, all trying to get cargo through the skin barrier or into follicles without causing chaos. The barrier is a bouncer, a real hard case. But unlike the brain or heart, at least the nightclub is on the street. Here's the commercial twist. Cosmetic medicine today is mostly reversible, or at least time-limited. Dyes, retinoids, lasers, fillers, neuromodulators, peels. If you hate the result, time, metabolism, or another doctor may rescue you. Durable genetic intervention is a different beast entirely. If you alter pigment pathways in skin stem cells or change follicle behavior in a lasting way, the value proposition changes and the risk profile changes with it. A cream that fades freckles for a month is one thing. A procedure that durably shifts melanin production, or claims to, is another kettle of fish. Suddenly, you're not selling maintenance, you're selling identity with a warranty nobody can truly underwrite. And that, weirdly, makes the temptation stronger, not weaker. People pay well to stop chasing upkeep. Less repeat inconvenience, more permanence, more exclusivity. Humans love a shortcut so much, we'd pave a road through the neighbor's garden and call it innovation. But let's not muddle categories. Treating a genetic skin disease is not the same as elective enhancement. Clearing a devastating blistering disorder, restoring pigment lost in disease, reducing scarring after severe pathology, that sits in one moral and regulatory lane. Electively dialing skin tone, changing hair traits, or engineering a perpetual rested complexion sits in another. The science may rhyme, the purpose does not. And purpose in medicine is where the knives get sharpened. So what could happen first, realistically? Not immortality in a jar, not designer cheekbones encoded at brunch. More likely small, local, visible interventions in skin and hair, because those tissues are practical. You can target a patch, you can watch what it does, you can stop if it misbehaves. Well, sometimes. That's a terrible analogy, let me try again. It's easier to test a new paint on the front gate than to rebuild the engine while the car's doing 100 on the motorway. Current science gives us a few credible pathways. One is local gene correction or gene modulation for skin disease. Topical and intradermal CRISPR-based approaches have been explored in preclinical work, And there has been real momentum in gene therapy for dermatologic disorders using local delivery. Another pathway is RNA rather than permanent DNA editing, siRNA, antisense, messenger RNA, transient expression systems. These can be potent without making forever promises. In a cosmetic context, ironically, transient may be more acceptable at first because regulators and patients both sleep better when reversibility still exists. Delivery is the whole game. Naked cargo usually gets nowhere useful. Lipid nanoparticles matter because they can package nucleic acids and help cells take them up. They're already proven in human medicine broadly, though skin delivery is its own stubborn beast. The stratum corneum blocks large molecules beautifully, so researchers look at microneedle arrays, follicular delivery routes, iontophoresis, peptide shuttles, local injection, combinations of barrier disruption with nanoparticles, lots of clever locksmith work. Hair follicles are especially seductive targets because they can act like little entry ports into deeper skin structures. If you want to influence follicle cycling, pigmentation, or local inflammation, that access matters. Pigment biology also offers plausible near-term targets because we actually know quite a bit about the pathways. Melanin production is regulated through melanocytes, melanocortin signaling, MITF and tyrosinase-related machinery, keratinocyte-melanocyte crosstalk, inflammatory signals, UV response. That does not mean safe elective pigment editing is around the corner. It means the map exists. The same goes for acne-adjacent biology, sebaceous activity, keratinization, inflammation, microbiome interactions, androgen signaling. You can imagine gene modulation aimed at reducing pathologic oil production or inflammatory cascades, but imagine is the key word there. Therapeutic acne intervention and elective poreless porcelain forever are not the same development program. And hair, hair. People will mortgage their dignity for hair. Follicles are mini organs with cycling phases, stem cell niches, pigment cells, hormone responsiveness. There are plausible routes involving pathways tied to growth and pigmentation, but durable editing for aesthetic traits runs into heterogeneity, timing, and safety concerns fast. You'd need consistency across many follicles over time without triggering off-target effects, immune reactions, weird mosaic results, or, this is the part people whisper, cancer risk from meddling with growth programs. So the likely first wave is not choose your look. It's closer to disease treatment that accidentally reveals cosmetic potential. A therapy for a rare pigment disorder teaches us how local melanocyte modulation works. A treatment for scarring or inflammatory dermatoses shows how to deliver cargo safely into skin. Then someone in a very expensive waiting room says, "Lovely, now can you do that for vanity?" That's usually when medicine discovers it has wandered into a much richer neighborhood. Here's how these things usually move. First, private whispers. Concierge physicians, anti-aging brokers, executive wellness outfits with silk curtains and very discreet invoices. Then the grey market appears. Clinics operating across borders, language fuzzier than their consent forms, selling cellular rejuvenation and genetic optimization long before the evidence deserves those words. After that, if the science matures and regulators can cage it, the respectable version arrives. Luxury clinics, tightly indicated procedures, lots of imaging, follow-up registries, legal teams thicker than a biker's thumb. Only later, maybe much later, does broader consumer demand become visible. I should be careful here. Publicity can outrun evidence by years. We already see that in regenerative medicine and aesthetic biotech. So public view might start not with real widespread use, but with marketing language, celebrity rumors, patent filings, venture decks, and a few genuine clinical programs for disease that get misread as beauty tech. A headline about gene therapy for a skin disorder becomes, by lunchtime, "Scientists can now edit your glow." Absolute nonsense, but nonsense with excellent publicists. The ethical flashpoints are not subtle. Coercion comes first. If a durable cosmetic intervention appears safe enough and prestigious enough, employers, industries, peer groups, even families can make choice feel compulsory. Class signaling comes next. A permanent or semi-permanent enhancement will debut as a marker of money and access. Not just beauty, but proof that you can hire the future early. Then, identity. Pigmentation, hair texture, freckles, scarring, visible inherited traits. These are not neutral knobs on a machine. They're tied to ethnicity, age, illness, memory, belonging. Tinker there, and you are not merely polishing the bonnet, you're repainting biography. Enhancement creep is the old trap. A therapy begins by treating severe disease, then milder disease, then borderline pathology, then prevention, then optimization, then aesthetics. Each step feels tiny, reasonable, almost polite. Put them together, and you've crossed a border nobody remembers approving. That's how history likes to dress itself. Incremental, respectable, signed in triplicate. Timeline? With all the hedging this deserves, public awareness is already here in a blurry, confused form because CRISPR is famous and dermatology is visible. Niche. Legitimate use of local genetic medicines for skin disease will likely keep expanding through the later 2020s, assuming safety and efficacy data continue to accumulate. Early aesthetic adjacent experiments, very limited, very controlled, probably piggybacking on disease frameworks or transient gene modulation rather than permanent editing, could emerge in elite settings before broad regulation is settled. Mainstream visibility for true elective cosmetic gene intervention? I'd be cautious. Not impossible in the 2030s in some form, but widespread normalization would require strong delivery methods, clean safety data, durable benefit, manufacturing quality, and a regulator willing to stare down both hype and inequality. That's a long road, even if a few cowboys try shortcuts. So yes, the temptation is inevitable. Skin and hair sit right there in the shop window, and biotechnology has started learning the locks. But medicine is not a cocktail party, and the genome is not a menu. Though trust humanity to ask for substitutions. That's us done for today. Next time we'll pry open another polished little box and see what crawls out.